Black Hollow was a quiet town, nestled deep in the heart of a vast forest. Surrounded by towering trees, it was the kind of place where nothing ever seemed to change. Its people lived simple lives. Farmers worked the land, shopkeepers ran their businesses, and families spent their evenings in front of the fireplace. The town's biggest event of the year was the summer fair, a time for everyone to gather and catch up on the latest gossip. For most of the year, Black Hollow was peaceful, especially in the winter. When the cold weather set in, the town seemed to disappear under the heavy blanket of snow. It was during these long, isolated months that Tom Perry, a local electrician, noticed something strange. Tom had always been the type to stay busy, tinkering with gadgets and fixing whatever needed repair. But one cold January night, as he worked in his cluttered garage, he heard something unusual. At first, it was just a faint hum on his radio, a low, rhythmic buzzing that seemed out of place. He adjusted the dials, hoping to find a station, but the sound persisted. It wasn't static. It was something else entirely. He froze, listening closely. The hum seemed to pulse in a regular pattern, like a heartbeat. For a moment, Tom thought he might be imagining it. But as he turned the volume higher, the sound grew louder. It was unmistakable. Probably just some interference, he muttered to himself, shaking off the unease crawling up his spine. But the hum didn't go away. It continued, faint but constant, and every night, like clockwork, it came back at exactly midnight. Tom wasn't the only one to hear it. Over the next few nights, more people began talking about the strange hum. Some of them brushed it off as a technical glitch or a prank, but others couldn't ignore it. The hum wasn't random. It had a rhythm, a pattern. And it happened at the same time every night, exactly at midnight. The townsfolk couldn't figure out what was causing it. Was it some sort of secret military test? A rogue broadcast? A strange weather phenomenon? Nobody knew. All they knew was that the sound was becoming impossible to ignore. Dr. Helen Ward had only moved to Black Hollow 6 months earlier. After years of working for a government agency in a high-pressure cryptography department, Helen had become exhausted by the constant stress. The late nights spent decoding foreign communications and analyzing classified data had left her yearning for a quieter life. When the opportunity arose to relocate to Black Hollow, she jumped at the chance. Black Hollow offered everything Helen needed: peace, solitude, and fresh air. The town seemed like the perfect place to escape from the chaos of her former life. But just when she thought she had found the quiet she had been looking for, the strange signal began. Helen wasn't sure what to make of it at first. She had heard the rumors, but she had dismissed them as just that, rumors. That is, until the night she decided to see for herself. She borrowed an old radio from her neighbor and sat by the window, waiting for midnight. The clock on the wall ticked closer to the hour, and then, without warning, the hum filled the room. It was faint at first, barely noticeable, but then it grew louder, rhythmic and consistent, like the pulse of some distant machine. Helen's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't just static. This was something deliberate. She grabbed the radio and adjusted the dial. She turned the volume up, trying to tune into different frequencies, but the hum remained. It wasn't coming from any regular station. It wasn't random. It was intentional. And it was unlike anything Helen had ever heard before. The hum lingered for exactly 3 minutes and 7 seconds before it faded away, leaving an eerie silence behind. Helen sat in the quiet darkness, her mind racing. What had she just experienced? The next day, Helen decided to investigate. She knew she couldn't let this go. She needed to understand what was causing the signal. She wasn't sure why, but she felt drawn to it, like it was a puzzle she couldn't ignore. That night, she tuned into the signal again. She recorded it, analyzing the patterns. The more she listened, the more she realized there was something strange embedded in the hum. There was a rhythm to it, a hidden message buried beneath the sound. It was as if someone, or something, was trying to communicate. Helen wasn't one to shy away from a challenge, and this was no exception. She spent the next few days setting up a small lab in her basement, pulling out old equipment from her cryptography days. She began to analyze the signal in depth, running it through various programs that could help her decode it. And that's when she discovered something remarkable. The signal wasn't just a random series of noises. It was carrying data, encoded information. When she ran the signal through her software, it revealed a blurry image, a map. At first, it was just a vague outline, but as she adjusted the filters, it became clearer. It was a map of Black Hollow, with a red X marking a spot deep in the woods. Helen's heart raced. The X was in an area she recognized, a patch of forest on the outskirts of town, a place known for being abandoned and mysterious. She knew that no one had gone there in years. It was rumored to be haunted, and locals avoided it. But the map was clear. The X was real. She had to go there. The cold January air bit at Helen's cheeks as she walked toward the location mark on the map. The woods were silent, the only sounds the crunch of her boots on the frozen ground. The trees loomed tall and bare, their branches stretching up like skeletal fingers, and the moonlight cast long shadows on the snow-covered earth. Helen wasn't sure what she was looking for, but the map had led her here. She felt a strange pull to this place, as though something was waiting for her. After an hour of searching, she found it.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for part 2.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. 'Cause everybody